Hello everybody and welcome to my channel lisahortoncrafts. I've had a request for a video on ways to use acetate and ways to use vellum, and particularly using them with embossing folders and using them in different ways on your cards basically. So I thought today I would give you a little insight on how I use my vellum, how I use my acetate, and the reason that I bought this out and that I thought it would enhance your creativity. So let me start by saying that both of these are Lisa Horton Craft branded. The coloured heavyweight vellum comes from our Modern Florals collection, which was released in late early 2023, and the acetate was released in around May-June time 2023, and that comes with our Christmas designer collection, which is called Christmas is Coming. So this is the A5 acetate and this is the A4 vellum. So we're also going to use our 3D embossing folder swirling leaves to work with these products. Let's first of all talk about our vellum. So our vellum is 200 GSM. This is luxury. This is absolute luxury. It comes in its own binder almost. So when you open this, everything is protected inside. So when you open it, you will have a lot of vellum in here. If I just flick through, you can see there's a ton here. So we have our white vellum, which is great because you can do your inking and all your techniques on here if you want to, and it's that thick it works beautifully for your foiling. And then you can clearly see that this is your pink, and then underneath that, let me turn that way so you can see that's a lovely bright pink, and this is your beautiful yellow. This is like it's like sunshine yellow. It is so pretty. There's your yellow. And I mean, how delightful is the blue? The blue is absolutely gorgeous, of course. And then we have the green. Sorry, my camera's moving in and out a little bit. It's trying to follow me quickly and I'm moving too fast for it. And then we have our peachy tone as well. So if you're on the fence about the vellum, I can highly recommend it. You can feel the weight. That is one sheet. So it's not a thin vellum at all. So highly recommend this. What the vellum also loves is my blending ink. So if you have my Cloud9 blending ink, you are going to be in for a treat. So what I'm going to do today is show you how we use the vellum, pop that to one side, and how we use our acetate. Now our acetate isn't A4, our acetate is A5. I just felt that we didn't really need the A4 size. You get 30 sheets. I mean, this is divine. So when you look at your acetate, again, 200 GSM acetate, construction weight. That's your, I like to call it a snowfall. Then you get your dots and spots, which is again a delight. And then you get your plane. Now what we need to remember about the plane is on both sides you have a film, and you'll see at one end, let me bring in some black cardstock or brown cardstock here. You see that? You can see here, you can see where there's an edge. So what you need to do is peel off one side, and then you can peel off again the other side, and that will give you your crystal clear acetate with no fingerprints on it and no marks. But if you don't want to use it all, you can use a piece and trim it. Personally, I tend to do all my work and leave the acetate till last, so I don't damage it. But you can pop it back on if you want to. The others, they are a little bit more tricky, but there is on one side it does come off, and you can peel one side off. The other side you can't because it's been printed. You peel that off and look at that. Absolute beautiful. So you can do that to your dots and spots, and let's do the same and try and find the corner of the right side. The side that's a little bit more murky looking will be your side where it comes off, and I can see it there, caught it there just with my finger, and you peel it off. So peel off one side like so, and you can replace it back on. So that's your acetate. Now what I wanted to do with the acetate, I wanted to give you the ability to create card blanks. Christmas is coming after all. We've got our snowflake dies, we've got all our super pretty dies, but what's really nice is being able to use this as a card blank. And I love that I can take one of these and I can use my Ultimate 2 and I can measure that. So this is a scoring tool. This isn't these numbers don't relate to this. This is a 1/8 of an inch score, and these are just your rulers. So we can see here that this is 21 centimeters, or I'd say that's 8 1/4. Is that 8 1/4? 8 and 2 digits. I think that's about right. So that's 21. So I would say, yeah, that's definitely around the A5 mark. So if it were me, I would score at 4 and one thingy bob. So you've got your 4-inch there and one of my next lines there. Where's my scoring tool? So I would score. So I've marked every 8. So I've got 1 inch, 2, 3, 4, and then I've got that one extra bit there. And you can then score down here with your score tool. And it's very thick acetate. So if it were me, I would use a wider ball tool than I've used. I'm ridiculous. I've not been very sensible, but it will be great once I've done both sides. And I can feel that this is the printed side as well. So I can now look at that and go, yeah, that's great. Score that right down the middle. Can you hear the weight of this? You really can. So what you can do now is, once you've scored it, let me take all my bits out of the way. We don't need that for now. You need to take something quite heavy and score properly, because the weight of this acetate, I even use sometimes, let me come in with my scissors, sometimes just something heavier, just to hold it down like so. Yeah. So now you've created your card base. So if you want to decorate the front and the back of this, you absolutely can. And remember, with the Model Florals kit, we created those wonderful stickers, didn't we? We had beautiful stickers that went with the Model Florals kit. Let me grab mine out of my drawer. So you could take one of your stickers and you could pop one of your stickers on the front. And did I hear it's your birthday? You could put your die cuts on the front. Let me put that brown underneath so it's easy for you to see. You can put your die cut on the front. You could put a snowflake on there. I've got some little elements here. So these, let me show you what these were created from. Let me bring this in for you. So what you can do is, this is using my glitter card, and I used my pigment inks on the glitter card, and it colors all your white glitter card. So you could make loads of color glitter card, and then what I've done here is I created some elements. So how beautiful straight away is that on your card? On your card here, and then you could put a little floral in the middle maybe. Have I got any florals in here? Or is that all? This might all be sentiments. Well, that's a little rose there. So you could have a little rose on there. But on the inside, because it's nice and plain, if you're using a die cut, you can use the back of the die cut as well to hide any glue, and you can pop that on the inside. So what I mean by that is you can cut this twice, cut the base layer twice, and put it on the inside as well. So when you put the glue down, all you're going to see on the rear side is a beautiful, outline die of what you've created. So that hides any glue. Mind you, I think there are glues on the market that obviously you can use as well, which are like a spray glue or something. So that's your card base, if you want it to be, with sentiment, using your acetate, or use your acetate and die cut it, and you can make tags from it if you want to. So they'll make some great Christmas tags. Or you can use this with your embossing folders as well. And because it's so deep and thick, it will give you a beautiful effect on your embossing folders. Also, acetate loves your alcohol inks. So if you've got the little alcohol inks in the bottles, you can pop this onto your acetate and it will give a beautiful, beautiful colour. Or you can colour in on your acetate. Or take your elements, cut your elements out on acetate, create so many different effects. I'll see if I can do some of that in a moment. I'm just trying to give you some little ideas of how to use your acetate or how to use your vellum. So that's your acetate, and you can see how sturdy that is. So that's going to create a wonderful A6 card. So let's move these out of the way for the moment. So you've seen how we create those. Just rubbing your blending ink onto your cardstock or your glitter cardstock and die cutting these out. And let's talk about the vellum. So the vellum, I adore this. Now I think a pretty lemon vellum. Vellum will take on the colour underneath. This now means putting it on the brown, it doesn't look yellow anymore. If I pop it onto my desk, it looks very yellow. If I actually bring that piece of cardstock back in, just got the red on it, it takes on the colours that you've got. Now that, to me, is so beautiful underneath there. So you can do all your inking underneath if you want to, but we also can blend onto this, but we'll do that in a minute. But let me just show you how we can emboss this. So let's first of all grab our gorgeous Swirling Leaves embossing folder. Now I'm going to bring in my trimmer here, and we're going to trim down. Now, just to show you how this works, we're going to cut that at 10 centimetres, just under 4 inches. And I'm going to bring in my folder to make sure it fits perfectly. I might trim a tiny, tiny, tiny piece off there so it sits perfectly inside. Let's do that at 9.5 centimetres or 3 3/4 inches. I'm going to turn that around, and I'm gonna mark it with my thumb because it will leave a white marker. Remember, you can do your parchment techniques on this as well because it's beautiful and thick. There we go. And I'm going to put the vellum to one side. Let's take our trimmer out of the way. Now, there's 2 ways of doing this. If you are concerned that your vellum is going to crack, you can take a piece of copy paper. This is a card blade, but take a piece of copy paper, fold it in half, and pop your vellum inside before you do your embossing. Don't use cardstock, use copier paper because it's nice and thin. I'm happy. I love using my vellum straight into the folder. So I'm going to pop that in like so. So it sits inside that folder. And all you need to do is grab your plates. Now I am using the Spellbinders Platinum 6. And what I require are my base plates. I'm going to put those out of the way for a moment. My adapter plates and my D plate. So you need your A, your F, and your D. If this doesn't go through perfectly first time because the paper, the vellum is thinner than paper. You might need to shim, but I don't think so on this one. So what we've done is we've made sure that folder is away from that edge always. And I say this in every video, protect your hinges, keep them away from that edge. Twist it slightly. Relieves any pressure on those hinges, any pressure at all. Lift this up, bring in our Platinum 6. Make sure that's straight. And then we will pop that out of the way. And then let's bring this in. Take all those sentiments out of the way. We don't need those for the moment. And let's have a look. Lift this up. And now you have absolutely got the most beautiful, beautiful vellumed embossed detail. And on the back, you can almost see that white work coming through. So you could use the deboss if you wanted to, or you can use the emboss. And then you can pop that onto a nice white card blank. And that will sit stunningly in the middle of your card. You can put a colour behind it. And now to glue this down, you use the tiniest amount of glue, tiniest amount. And then if you really wanted to use more glue, what you could do is hide the glue by putting your embellishment over the top. So for example, I know this is not an ideal element, but for example, you could take your, whatever it is you're popping there, and that will be where you place your glue. Okay, I know this is too large, but if you see what I mean, pop your glue behind whatever element you sit on top. So that's how I love to emboss my vellum. But it gets better for the vellum, because what you can now do, if I move this out of the way briefly, we can now bring in our mat, my mat down like so, bring our vellum in, turn the vellum over, bring in our blending brushes. Now let's choose some nice bright colours. I'm actually going to choose a yellow, and I'm going to choose a pink. So I'll have one stencil brush for yellow, one stencil brush for pink. I'm on the back now. This is the front. On the back, take our yellow, blending ink at the bottom, blend over the top. This is the back of the vellum, remember. And then up like so. If we turn that over, can you see the ombre effect you get? Isn't that beautiful? And that's with a yellow on a yellow. So we can keep going. Let's come back down a little heavier with the yellow. And then we're going to turn. Cover the yellow. And let's bring in that pink. This gorgeous pink. We're going to ink with pink. Don't worry about the detail. Don't worry whether you're blending well or not. Try and blend that in over here. And then you mix that yellow and that pink together. Let's turn that over, and then you get that orange coming through. Let's see if we can go a little bit pinker here. We turn that over, look at this. Your vellum is now coloured. So look at the back, but look at the front. How wonderful does that look? So now think of the blues and the greens and the under the seas and all the different things that you could create using your wonderful, wonderful vellums. Now that would sit beautifully. We need a black card, that brown card again underneath. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? So that could be, if you use the plain, you could use that behind. Again, where's that little sentiment I had? Have I moved it? Yes, I have moved it. That little sentiment. You can see what I mean now. That's a card. All you've done is fold a piece of acetate. You've got a piece of inked vellum and a sticker sentiment, and you're good to go, really, aren't you? And again, adhering that, what I would do is you could stick this down because it's a sticker, so the back's going to be clear, and then you'd put your glue behind this, and then, you know, you've got a really cool little card. Could you imagine? Let's just hold that like so. Look at the wild peony. Now that obviously is too big, but you would trim that down, and that will be on the front of your card. Okay. So cool, so cool. You could literally, if you wanted to, have it landscape and have just a piece of it. But I quite like it like that, and I probably get the card down like that. If I would probably have it about there, trim that off at the bottom, cut another one of these, just plain white card, stick it to the inside, because then you wouldn't see any of the glue behind. So you could glue that down, stick it to the inside. We have another one. We've got the poppy. Again, you wouldn't have to use all of the poppy. You could use part of the poppy, or you could pop it up here and you could cut this part of the poppy off, or cut down to here and just have those three. So if you took those off, how beautiful would that be? So that's using it on the acetate. Let's bring that vellum back in. Could you imagine that? That's going to be stunning, isn't it? That's can have it that way. Let's leave that there for a second. You could pop it like so. Trim those off. Look at that. How delightful is that on a card? Turn it around that way. And you give a different look completely because you've got the white at the top. Beautiful. Try the poppy on it. This is going to work with any of your folders. I would personally, I feel that you need to chop those two off. I don't want to do it because I need to use this for another card, but I feel that using it like that will be an absolutely delightful way of using it, particularly, you know, if you want to have even off the edge of a card. I feel like sometimes it's quite nice just to have a little piece. But lots of things you can do, absolutely lots of things you can do. So I would say get that acetate out, get that vellum out, start folding it, start creasing it, but remember that acetate is so thick, it is so thick that you're probably going to need something quite heavy to score it. But before we go, let's take a piece of that acetate and run it through a folder, and let's see what happens. I feel it's so thick that you might need an extra shim, which we will do. Let me grab a piece of it because I've popped it over one side. I'm going to use this half. So let's cut this. Cut this like so. And I'm going to leave the covers on for now. I'm going to pop it. I need to trim that off a little bit there. And also this acetate loves your foiling machine. Remember, you can heat on it, it's heat resistant. You can do your heat on it and you can do your foiling on it. So I'm going to pop that in to my folder, and I'm going to, again, let's move that way. Let's bring in our machine. So we do this live, and I'm going to put the base plate and the adapter on, but I am going to use a shim. And I don't know if this is going to be too thick. I'm going to use a spare piece of card. My machine will tell me if it's too much. And if it is, we will try something different. But because it's thick, I feel, no, it's too much. It's telling me, do you see that? too much. So take that away, take the card off and put a single sheet in rather than a double sheet, which is what I did. Single sheet of card, just to give it a little bit more pressure. No, it does not like it. Maybe take the shim out, but the card is thicker than the shim. So let's see if that will work. Could be because the acetate has got the cover on it. That's better. Take that shim away and put a thick piece of card on it. That's what's worked for me. Again, you can play with your sandwich of your machine to get the best result, but do not push it. As you can see, I stopped because it didn't like it. And what it potentially will now do is it might curl because I might have been not quite heavy on it, but I pushed it a little bit, didn't I? But just be light as you can. Now bring that in. Let's bring that brown card in. So now we've got embossed acetate. So let's take these covers off. Pull that off. This is very cool. And then we'll take the back off as well of this one. You can see that now. So you can now create your own embossed acetate. Look at that. Isn't that super pretty? I think you get a deeper emboss if you took the front and the back off before you did it. But how cool is that? I mean, can't even see it on there, but let's try it on a white card. Let's see what happens. I don't know if you can pick that up. You can pick it up, but what I would say is on a dark piece of card, that's going to be super cool. So there you go. So lots of little ideas with your acetate. There we are. And then your vellum, inking of your vellum as well. So I would say get your products out, play with them. Don't worry too much. Just make sure you don't use your sandwiches incorrectly for your machines. But absolutely, you can use card blanks, you can die cut these out. You might have to run them through once or twice because the acetate is so thick, or use your metal shim that comes with your machine. You can emboss with the acetate. You can emboss with the vellum. You can ink with the vellum, create all sorts of patterns, or just ink your vellum and don't emboss. And you can still create some beautiful things. Look at that. You can see the white work coming through now. Absolutely stunning. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you can tune in for the next video. We are going to be running a series of videos for beginners and also on different techniques to use with your 3D folders too. So please make sure you subscribe to our channel and click that notification button so we can let you know when the next video is arriving. Take care. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.